everyone, I'm Ronan Unchained. I'm here to do my review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a novel. The first and newest novel by the incredible writer-director of Quentin Tarantino. I adore his filmography, and when I first heard that he was doing a novelization of his latest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is right now currently my favorite of his, I couldn't help but leap at the moment, the date that it was going to be released, and hopefully enjoy it, and then later on discuss what I thought about it. What a bloody, crazy, shocking, poignant, entertaining, and uplifting and enduring ride was to read this novel. This was a blast. To use a weird reference, now I understand Gollum's connection and relationship with The Ring. I don't really read a lot. When I do, it's an event. And to best describe how connected I was to just how this book is designed, from the cover, the format of paperback, which is long. For 6 days, I read this book, and everywhere where I went, everywhere, it was right there with me, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it and what I had just received in terms of information with characters that I love these characters, and yet they are the most complex, out of this world characters that I've gotten, at least from fiction, in a while, that I felt this connected, and yet being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you think that way, and would say something like that, or in some cases be like, oh, we have this connection. You like the same thing that I like, and I feel about this way about that, and it is like a roller coaster. It is like a roller coaster of emotions. I just can't help but be astonished of how much fun and how much of an adventure it was for me to read this book and just take in all new info, familiar information that we've gotten in the film, and just delve deep into this world of his. I love this film. I can't help it. I love this film. And when I heard that he was novelizing it, I knew that just from a writing perspective, Mr. Tarantino would nail it. The best visual description of how I felt reading the book throughout these 6 days is that I'm in the Coupe de Ville of Rick Dalton's. Clint Booth is driving, Rick is riding shotgun, and I'm in the back just hearing the music from KHJ and the radio, and just driving through LA, specifically Hollywood, and just following these two characters for these 2 days in February, and hearing stories of their lives before, during, and then getting a glimpse of what's gonna happen to them afterwards. As I do love this book entirely, there are moments that I go back to more than others, and just either out of shock value or because I want to experience that tale over and over again. Clint Booth is my favorite character in the film and in the novel. And yet he's also the most complex and twisted character in both mediums. And Mr. Tarantino, I think he said it before in some of his podcasts that I've been following since the release of the novel, is that he makes it very, very hard on us to still like the character, like Cliff, after a bunch of wacky, crazy stuff that he's done in his life. And it depends entirely on you and where you choose to go with it. I always know that when I enter a Tarantino graphic novel, or a film of his, that's gonna get twisty, and it's the ride I'm going on. And it's that connecting of fiction and reality of how you go about it, and it's a fascinating to me that I still love Cliff Booth, but he has said and done and been through some wacky stuff that I'm like, I couldn't go there, and yet I'm willing to hear, see, or read about it. That's the craziest part of this all. For better, for worse, whether we like it or not, Tarantino humanizes Cliff Booth. From everything that he's gone through to everything that we see in the film, or everything that we read or hear in the novel. Those chapters are Chapter 2, I Am Curious, Cliff. Chapter 4, Brandy, You're a Fine Girl. Chapter 10, Miss Adventure. Whew. And Chapter 17, The Medal of Valor. Cliff is a Kurosawa fan. like I am. He loves Three Outlaw Samurai or The Sword of Doom like I do. I own those movies on my Blu-ray Criterion collection. It's just, that's one thing that I remember reading. I was bonkers to be like, okay, I have a connection with him besides that he lives in Panorama City in LA and I'm from LA, and just that was a cool thing that I appreciate Mr. Tarantino making him, and that he's a Mifune, Toshiro Mifune and Akira Kurosawa fan. He's a Zatoichi fan. It's amazing for me. Brandy, the lovable yet dangerous dog. How she comes into Mr. Booth's life is one of the most bonkers stories of them all, and it explains and it shows to me, because I like visualizing it, how she comes to be a very prolific, lethal being at the end of the film. Cliff killed his wife. He did. Whew. It's confirmed in the book. He did get away with murder. However, he didn't plan to kill her. And he regretted the instant that he pulled the trigger on the harpoon gun. In that regret, a very humanizing moment occurs between Cliff and his wife that I won't spoil, and I'll let each of you experience it by reading it or hearing it. But it's... how people are gonna take it is beyond my hands, and it was a very humanizing, shocking moment to me to read it. Chapters 8, Lancer, and Chapter 16, Jim Stacy. We learn more about Jim Stacy, played by Timothy Olyphant. We learn how he is an actor himself and what the struggles he's gone through and how he came to be with the Lancer show. And we learn way more details about the Lancer pilot plot than we do in the film and the deleted scenes that you can find in the Blu-ray or on YouTube. To the point that now I'm like, okay, now I want to see Lancer. I want to see that pilot and do it as a mini-series. And I've heard that Tarantino's talked about, well, maybe I'll just give it to Robert Rodriguez. He owns the rights. And I'm like, and unfortunately, we did lose Luke Perry. But those two chapters, just everything about Lancer, and we learn backstories. It is wild, and I want to see more of Lancer and those characters. On to Rick Dalton now. Chapter 12, You Can Call Me Mirabella. Chapter 23, Drinkers Hall of Fame. And Chapter 25, the last chapter. Rick has some opinions. He has some opinions that I do not agree with. And yet, Tarantino makes it a way where I sympathize for this guy. I want him to do better, to make himself a better person and change his career and hopefully find some success after his canceled show of Bounty Law. Trudy Frazier, played by Julia Butters, I believe, is a big element to that. She reminds him that, like, we are lucky to be actors, and this is this is the greatest job ever, that we get to pretend for a living and we get to act out different stuff, and pushes him to look deeper into how he approaches acting, and specifically his role as Caleb Ducato, whatever his name is in Lancer, of how what's his relationship with other characters like Johnny Madrid or Mirabella, and just the studying of the craft and organizing it. Such a beautiful thing. At the end of it, in Chapter 23, Drinkers Hall of Fame, the movie for me at least ended where there was some rivalry but mutual respect between Jim Stacy and Rick Dalton. In the Drinkers Hall of Fame, there's the crossing of those worlds, and it's a beautiful, beautiful part. This is the part where I say the novel is not better than the film, nor do I say it is worse than it. It is just as good as the film. And this is coming from someone who loved it. How you take away from reading it is up to you. If you like the film, you'll love the novel. If you didn't like the film, I still will recommend for you to try it out and go through your own experience. The ending of the novel is different than the ending of the film, and yet both work entirely for me. In a more cathartic way in the film, but a much more poetic, beautiful, tie ribbon way for me in the novel. And it's just gorgeous. And we get more scenes in the novel from footage that we had seen in the trailer and TV spots and the trailer for the novel that were cut out. I mean, Tarantino shot some of this stuff. The ending of the novel, he shot it. There is photos that you can see of see McQueen in his car. You can see Rick Dalton talking to Trudy. You see Sharon Tate swimming in her swimming pool. It is just fascinating, and hopefully one day we see it in a film, maybe in an Ultimate Edition cut. Who knows? But that's what's fascinating about the novel, and it's 25 chapters, 400 pages of pure, glorious Quentin Tarantino storytelling. Blank page. The new voyage. This is the new adventure of Mr. Quentin Tarantino. Multiple times he said that his 10th film will be his last film. He's also said that he may or may not change his mind on that. To me, his films are an event for cinema or for just pop culture in general, since they're released every 3-4 years. And I'll say this, I'll be first in line for his next film. But if he decides to close it off at 10 films and just we keep a solid slate of 10 films of his, I'll respect that decision and enjoy them all over again. For the second time, he's proven to me that his storytelling can still transfer mediums and still be solid. The first time for me was when I picked up and I heard that he had done a Django sequel, but not in a film. That he had done a graphic novel called Django Zorro. It is one of my favorite stories in comic books. It is just glorious. The second one was with his novel, which just expanded on everything that I liked of the film, and just we delve deeper and just hang out more with these crazy guys. You can hear him in an interview saying that if you put your heart and soul into a piece of writing, and after that is done, it's done, and he doesn't make a film, that it's a tremendous gratifying feeling. That's a great feeling. And he's just now started a new family. So I have to take that into consideration, being like, you know what? He doesn't have the time anymore that he did before, and that's okay that he's now a family man, and if now he can spend his time in just writing novels or graphic novels and still tell crazy stories with amazing characters, I'm game for that. One story I'm holding out still hope that we see it in some format or medium is the Vega Brothers. He said that he might do it as a graphic novel. Many fans of us have thrown the idea of doing it as an animated film, which he does have history with it, with the animation section of Kill Bill with Oren Ishii. I hold out that either we'll get it as a anime, as a novel, or as a graphic novel. And if someone needs convincing of whether it would work if Tarantino would make the shift or evolution into literature instead of just on camera, I'll give you 2 clear examples that should be able to set the record straight and just let you have full faith on that. He has won 2 Oscars, one for Pulp Fiction and one for Django Unchained. And guess what? Both times were for Best Original Screenplay. That concludes my review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a novel by Quentin Tarantino. If you guys liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and also check out the 2 previous videos concerning the matter at hand. That is the launch event that I went to of Mr. Tarantino's that he hosted at the New Beverly Cinema of his, and the trailer reaction for the novel itself. Tell me what you think. If you read the book, if you haven't read it and are considering it, or if you didn't like it, tell me why in a very organized, respectful way, and please put it down in the comments down below. And to all I say, muchas gracias, and I will see you guys in the next video.